morning. Sorry I'm late. Thank you. The meeting's called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Diane, will you start us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I apologize for being late. This morning there's public comment. Jim Nowacki, got your timer?
I do.
Excellent, let's go.
He's well trained.
My name is Jim Nowacki, resident of the city of Gary, and I'm a familiar attendee at these meetings, long complaining about the problems we have with NDOT projects in our city, particularly the Route 1220 project and now the new Route 53 project. Since our last meeting, I've seen a flourish of activity. The contractors and the representatives of NDOT and engineers have been out on the project, Route 53 particularly, addressing many of the problems and mistakes made by the contractor in their last paving season. I don't want anyone to worry that I'll run out of things to complain about, because although approximately 30 items are being addressed over the last month or so, there's really dozens and dozens of more problems. I wanted to bring a particular problem that I think is important for this body, particularly, and that's the block between between 6th Avenue and 7th Avenue. It's a block that contains the State of Indiana building named after Governor O'Banion. Building was built for millions of dollars in the past. The sidewalks have been replaced, the roads have been replaced, but curiously, with all of the millions of dollars surrounding that building, they never replaced the curbs. If anyone were to look at the condition of the curbs in front of the State of Indiana building named after one of our great governors, you'd see the entire curb kicked into pieces. You would hardly find a piece larger than it's just kicked into bits. It's the worst section of curb on that on Broadway between 4th Avenue and 5th Avenue. And although it's maybe an oversight, it's an oversight that is inexcusable. Now, the Governor O'Banion was one of our state's favorite governors. Of course, he was not perfect. He did nominate our mayor as the Attorney General, but that was a short-lived mistake because the citizens immediately reversed that 6 months later. But I would like to just make sure that it's brought to the attention that that Governor O'Banion deserves a better testimony for his long service to our state, and we should replace that curb in front of the building. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of minutes of the April 19th, 2018 full commission meeting. Entertain a motion. You have it. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? I know it's a long time ago. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Report to the executive director.
Thank you, Mr. Menson. Let me first of all just recognize some new staff and interns that we have, although not all of them are back there. He's scooting his way out right now, but Nick Voyevich is one of our new interns. Hello, Nick. I'm glad to have him aboard, and also Nathan Posick, who is hard at work on 20. Oh, Nathan is back there. Hey, Nathan, you can stand up for a minute, or at least wait. Yeah, thank you very much. And then Peter Kimball. I don't know if Peter's back here as well. Peter is our new regional planner and policy analyst, so full-time staff. So we welcome Peter aboard. So you have some new faces to be able to work with. And again, they're particularly hard at work on the 2050 update that you'll hear a little bit more about during the TPC section. The Marquette Greenway has gotten quite a bit of press. If you remember past presentations on this connects Michigan to Chicago. And we attempted a Tiger grant last year. We were not successful, but in the feedback to that grant, we came very, very close. And so we're strongly encouraged to reapply again under the new program, which is now called BUILD. So that application will be going in today once we receive one more letter that we are anxiously awaiting to make the packet submission complete. So we are going back in it again. There was a great piece on CBS that we thought we'd play for you, very short, local CBS News piece. And Mitch, if you
You may soon be able to extend your workout for 58 miles. Seniors dues at current. Live in Whiting, Indiana tonight with the mobile weather app. Hi, Ed.
They've talked for a decade now about expanding the path along the lake here, all the way from southeast Chicago to southwest Michigan. And this week, once again, they'll be applying for funds to help pave the way. It's called the Marquette Greenway. Will take you eventually on a scenic trip around the southern tip of Lake Michigan. It takes you right from the south side of Chicago, Florida Park, winds you right through the heart of Northwest Indiana, through the Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore, eventually the Southwest Michigan Harbor Country. We spoke on a great bike path at Whiting, Indiana, part of 28 existing miles of paved paths. Linking segments like these will take federal funds. We're looking for $23 million to finish those 30 remaining miles. An asphalt bike highway from Chicago to New Buffalo, Michigan. Trails have proven to be economic generators where they have been placed. Property values go up, quality of life improves, and a path like this connects a diverse population to the renowned Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore.
That's it.
That's a great rest of the piece. The rest of the piece is good too.
One of those big checks for 28.
Yeah, right. The enthusiasm, as I think you know, for this project has been huge. Michigan, just alone, just to get it to New Buffalo, has raised, I believe, $500,000 for this project. So we're hoping it's successful this go around. And thanks, many of you in the room. Senator Donnelly, Justin Mount over there has provided letters of support. Others that are very, very well appreciated. So let's hope for good things. And Mitch is, I think, under quite a bit of stress to get that submitted with difficulty today. So I think we're very, very hopeful. So let's hope it goes through. On the theme of greenways overall, you have at your places, I believe, yes, the Greenways with Blueways 2020 plan. You adopted this. Time flies when you're having fun. I forget how long ago this came for formal approval. But this is the final printed version, so you have a copy to take back to your communities. And for those commissioners that were not here today, we'll mail them a copy as well. For anybody else who is watching or would like a copy, they are available online. Very easy to find on our website. Very proud of this document. Again, takes a previous trails plan, Greenways plan, updates it, and melts them together into one comprehensive document. And we're not the only ones that were very happy to recognize this document and feel good about it at the NARC, National Association of Regional Councils conference just in June in Orlando. We received this wonderful award for that plan effort. So I'm very happy to receive that. But this is going to provide a nice segue to the report of the chair. Not only did we receive an award for the plan that's in front of you, but our esteemed Mr. Jeff Benson was made officially president of the National Association of Regional Councils, which is very cool. I'm going to hand it right over to you.
Okay.
To you.
To you.
I thought
Great.
they were-
Well, I was able to help present the award, so that was wonderful. They thought the fix was in, but they were wrong. And I'm very happy to be the president of NARC and to follow in Dave Schaefer's footsteps. He's been a mentor and quite a leader in that organization. Justin Keel is also on the board, and we work with NLC, which Mayor Freeman Wilson is the vice president of. So these are wonderful organizations, and NACO is another one that we work with. They all share office space in Washington. As a result of that esteemed honor, or almost honor, I was, the month before, Ty and I were able to go to Las Vegas on a junket Oh,
It's not what you think.
Not really. That joke, golly. It was a crazy time. We flew out there and flew back the same day in order to see this project, the testing grounds for it. Because of the high-speed rail consideration and all the work that has been going on with connecting Chicago to Columbus to Pittsburgh, the environmental assessment, all of that work, it rose to the top of the Hyperloop project. And so we went out to see the Virgin Hyperloop test track in the desert in Las Vegas. And this is, I describe it as when you do a drive up to a bank teller and you put your money and stuff in a tube and it goes in there and they send it back to you. Imagine that on a large scale.
How does it go again?
See? Troublemaker. And so if you could imagine that on a large scale, going in a vacuum tube, because that's what it is, moving people and commodities. And so this tube is quite large, and this is where they're testing their theories, and they really work. This is they take all the air out of a tube. It's quite large, and have a drone, a rover. It looks sort of like the Mars rover because there's no friction in a vacuum, and so they can make it go really fast. And it's a maglev, so they're testing all these things, and we're able to see that, and then get on the plane and come back.
That's right. And we have a video piece that that was done. There was press out there that met about the same time we were out there, and so this is the same facility, same company. There are several different companies trying to do this, but Virgin Hyperloop 1, at least what we understand, is the one that's furthest along, that has had the first and the longest test facility for this. And this is the one, as Jeff said, that is pursuing specific corridors around the world, and in a global competition, that corridor from, as Jeff had mentioned, from Chicago to Columbus to Pittsburgh was one of the 10 global finalists for further study. So I think our big, if I can be so bold to say, I think one of our big, we'll show the video, but I think our big takeaway was that there's, just like autonomous vehicles have gone much faster than anybody expected, there's a lot more being poured into this research and this concept than you might think just from the sort of science fiction-y, aspect of it. So if I could, Mitch, we have one more video, hopefully the broadband works at all.
We came out with a challenge to communities all over the world. We want a Hyperloop, give us a proposal. And the most forward-thinking communities all over the world came forward. And now those are some of the same places we're now actually moving forward with feasibility studies. So the Virgin Hyperloop 1, what I do is not only talk to government officials about some of the regulatory things we're going to do, I also work with local agencies about potential Hyperloop projects. I think the most important thing about making this a reality is that government, business community has to have skin in the game to make this happen. We're seeing that in some of the places we're working now, like Colorado and Missouri, where you have the government stepping up and saying we don't want to be left behind. In transportation technology, we're going to get out ahead. And the business community is right there with us. Those kind of partnerships, working with us, that's the key to success to bring a Hyperloop to life. Government always has a role in infrastructure projects, and the private sector has a lot of potential upside in a system like this. So like a lot of infrastructure projects these days, inevitably, we're going to have to be building Hyperloops with public-private partnerships.
I personally think the most difficult challenge is that anytime you have a transportation system, you actually have to have a transportation standard. The Hyperloop standard doesn't exist yet. So our greatest challenge is actually to create that standard, just like the FAA for aircraft, the Rail Authority for rail. So the Hyperloop is a new mode of transportation. So what we're doing right now is taking a look at mining standards from metro systems, from rail, and from aircraft to create a brand new Hyperloop standard. So every time we design any infrastructure project, we have to design to a certain set of criteria. And a lot of those criteria are related to environmental conditions. So being able to show that we are able to operate the system over a range of different environmental conditions, as we've done with our test facility, is very important to certify the facility for regulatory compliance and human safety certification.
There are some mandatory things you have to do to build a transportation project really anywhere in the world, and we are starting to hit those milestones. So right now we are doing feasibility studies with the state of Colorado, the state of Missouri, and other partners, and also Columbus, Ohio regional planners about potential hyperloops for their region. So the next step after feasibility is moving into an environmental analysis of the route, and that's something that's actually happening with the Ohio project. They're not only studying feasibility, they're looking at the environment. The government requires an environmental analysis, so then you go in, the government puts it out to bid, and then you move forward with the project. Some of these cities like Columbus, Ohio, Denver, and the state of Colorado, and Missouri, they're thinking about not just innovation, but they're thinking about how they can change their economies and how they can challenge some of the coastal major cities in the future if they have this asset. And frankly, the bigger cities are going to have far inferior systems. If you look at who we're having these conversations with, it is a lot in the middle of the country. They're thinking ahead and thinking, here's how we're going to win the future.
So, anyway, this is not the time or place to answer all of your questions, because I don't know that we could, but we had a lot of questions. But it certainly begs questions and analysis. But it's working. We didn't get it right. It's not ready for humans yet, but it goes really fast. 800 miles an hour, something like that.
700.
700.
They estimate 500 on that route, 500 miles per hour, which is a 45-minute trip from Pittsburgh to Chicago.
So, anyway, this is part of the excitement of that is on the horizon. As Ty alluded, I was elected president of the National Association of Regional Councils at our annual conference in Orlando. It was very well attended. We have a board meeting coming up in Cleveland in October, and then every year we have one in Washington, D.C. Next year's one in June will be in Omaha, right before the World Series, the College Baseball World Series. The only other thing I wanted to say is that I was invited by Columbus to come speak at the Ohio Area Regional Councils. They had an event of governor candidates, and I'm not running for governor of the state of Ohio, but I was able to speak in between as part of a panel, and they had 3 presidents of national organizations and 3 executive directors as a speaker panel during lunch, essentially. And so that was fun. It was a privilege to represent NIRPC at that. That pretty much concludes my report. You got anything else? Nothing else? Okay, great. Welcome back from your vacation. Thank you. Next is the Finance and Personnel Committee. George Tobel.
Yes, we met, the Finance and Personnel Committee met this morning and last month. And we reviewed the financial status, reconciliation expenses, and approved claim registers. And we have actions that need to be addressed. And first, Daria Stava for the budget amendments.
Good morning. We are seeking the approval of 3 budget amendments to the current fiscal year. The largest amount is in Amendment 1. It's $55,000. It's between the environmental programs and contracts. We budgeted contracts and high level for the promoting bicycle as an alternative transportation. And we thought we can sign the contract directly, but we cannot. And actually, we became promoter. It's a promotion, cannot be. So the funds from the contract cannot be used for promotion. Has to be moved to the communication/program line. So we need $55,000. Second amendment is only for $3,000. It's about moving between 2 categories: equipment maintenance and occupancy. The utilities are over the budget due to higher increase cost of the utilities. We were budgeted 3%. It's actually 7%. and to make the line at the end of this fiscal year zero, just for the sake of the State Board of Accountants, I would like to move $1,600 from capital leasing maintenance to utilities and $1,400 from telecom service maintenance to utilities. The third amendment is transfer funds between staff wages and commission executive director communication line. We had unbudgeted cost relating to promotion there was bicycle lights. We cannot use any other funds, just the local funding. And when I was creating budget for 2018, I cut down from $41,000 for the commission executive director communication line because I needed to balance the budget. So I would like to replenish the money back to the commission executive director line. And I'm asking about moving $10,000.
Thank you, Daria. Okay, the Finance and Personnel Board moved to recommend to the Executive Board, and therefore I motion that the Executive Board consider the approval on that item. Second. I'll second.
I think George moved and Mayor Freeman Wilson seconded.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you.
Okay, now Lisa Todd will present the procurement motions.
We've got two procurement recommendations. One was from the June Finance and Personnel Committee, and so that one was approved at the June meeting. It was for two replacement vehicles, propane vehicles for the port transport out of grant IN 2017-28 for federal funds in the amount of $140,800. And so we're bringing that to the board today because there was no June meeting. The second procurement, which was recommended this morning at this morning's F&P meeting, was for the purchase of trees through a U.S. Forestry grant that we received. This is the second year we received it. We've gotten funds in the amount of $87,500. And what we do is purchase these trees, and then we have a community tree program, and communities can apply to receive these trees for free. And we do workshops that shows how to plant and take care of them. And this is to replace trees that were damaged by the emerald ash borers.
Thank you. We met this morning and last month to recommend, the motion was made to recommend by the Finance and Personnel Committee to the Executive Board, and I at this time make a motion to approve these items.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Great. Next is the Environmental Management Policy Committee meeting. Bill Emerson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, everything else. Congratulations
Thank you.
on that. We did meet at our June meeting. Excuse me. We had a presentation from Joe Axel on the Lake Station Dam on Deep River, potential reconstruction options, public meetings, and that was very good. A lot of good input there, and also kind of Mitch gave a summary of the Marquette plan comments, which will be coming, or I guess they're still being finalized, and they'll be coming to you shortly to the full commission. We also submitted comments on the recent U.S. Steel chromium spill prior to the deadline for those comments. That's one of the things that we're trying to do this year is the Environmental Management Committee does really well at a lot of things, communicating and bringing people together on environmental issues, but we're also trying to address some of these more topical and current issues. So I want to thank Kathy Luther for her. I didn't know she had such a strong background in environmental reporting issues and things like that. She's been just a great asset and helped review all that for us and submit the comments. So I want to thank her for that. Those are the kind of the big things going on. Also, just want to mention to everybody, environmental-wise, for this three county area, the Kankakee River right now, after the spring events, rain events, saw a lot of damage. It's a hot issue, a lot of movement on the state level, federal level, and the local level. So I've been out personally surveying the river. Each county surveyor's kind of taken, and Kevin can chime in if he'd like. We're all trying to analyze what we have, what needs to be done. And for the first time in probably, 50 years, Illinois is on board too. So we've been having a lot of good meetings with Illinois, moving them along, because the river, Reader's Digest version, was straightened out like 1900 to its unnatural state, and then it slams into the state line where it meanders again and slows down. So any solution has to be an interstate solution, bringing everybody together. So anybody who has any contact with the river and the watershed, just be aware that a lot of big things are happening. So if you want to have your input, now's the time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next meeting is September 6th.
I would mention that Bill and Commissioner Tippy, the South County Commissioner, engaged Illinois, and it's been a really a fruitful series of meetings. So it's really encouraging. Instead of blaming us for their problems, they're engaging with us. So I'm really optimistic that we're going to see some positive results. Thank you, Bill.
The next meeting is?
September 6th. We will not have a meeting in August. Is that correct?
Great. Thank you. Next is the TPC, the Technical Planning Committee. Evan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since the last commission meeting in April, the Technical Planning Committee has met on May 8th and July 10th. During these meetings, staff reported on progress concerning the development of the 2050 plan. At the May meeting, staff engaged TPC participants in a vision and goals input exercise. And after reviewing the feedback, staff made some modifications to the vision statements and reframed the goals as critical paths to be more action-oriented. One of the strongest themes of the feedback that we had. The presentation recommended TPC the revised set of vision statements and critical paths to achieve those visions, and the TPC provided a preliminary endorsement of those vision statements and critical paths. The vision statements and critical paths can be found at the back of the board packet. It's a beige colored sheet and are still draft until the plan is adopted next May. But staff may use them to continue to develop the plan. There are 3 actions for consideration today. First, a 30-day comment period, public comment period on amendments 13 and 14 for the fiscal year 2018-2021 Transportation Improvement Program was held from June 1st to July 1st. 1 comment was received. The report can be found on page 14. Charles Bradsky, here, there you are, will explain the report.
Good morning, everyone. The public comment report is on page 14 in the middle of your packet, and it addresses the public comments that we received for, we believe, the amendments 13 and 14. The caller did not leave or actually it was an emailer, did not leave any, it was a general comment. We tried reaching that person and didn't get any response. So being it fell within that period, we just went with the assumption, on the conservative assumption, that it was part of the TIP amendments. And you see that public comment report, like I said, on page 14.
You have no questions. The first action is on Resolution 1810, Amendment 13 to the fiscal year 2018-2021 Transportation Improvement Program, found on pages 15 to 17. Charles, can you explain a little bit about this?
Yes, this amendment, this resolution and amendment, the amendment actually, the portion part is, you can be found on page 17. And these are the local, the LPA projects that we have for resolution to the TIP.
Does anybody have any questions or comments about the amendment? If not, the Technical Planning Committee recommends
recommends adoption of resolution 1810.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, next.
The next resolution is 1811, amendment number 14 for fiscal year 2018-2021. And that's found on pages 18 to 30. Charles, can you explain a little bit about this, please?
Yes, this resolution and this amendment is NDOT's list of projects for fiscal year 2021. It is several pages, if you notice, because NDOT has several projects going on in the Northwest MPA. Again, like I said, this is their entire program for fiscal year 2021.
The Technical Planning Committee recommends adoption of resolution 1811.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great.
Thank you.
A 7-day public comment period on amendment number 15 to fiscal year 2018 to 2021 Transportation Improvement Program was held. There were no comments received. The report can be found on page 31. James Winter will explain the report.
Right, yeah, so this was a 7-day comment period. This was a project that was included in the previous TIP, it was not rolled over into the new TIP. So as such, we did not need a 30-day comment period, only a 7-day. The project in question, you can find the details on page 33. They are two projects from GPPC related to improving their facility, in Gary. And both these projects were already approved and put into the 16 to 2019 TIP. And we're just including them into the 18 to 2021 TIP.
So the final action is on resolution 1812, amendment number 15 fiscal year 2018-2021, found on pages 32 to 33. Mr. Winters, do you have any other?
I'd just like to indicate that the funding source for this program is FTA 5339, which is bus and bus facilities. This is funding that cannot be spent on operations, only on capital projects.
And the Technical Planning Committee recommends adoption of resolution 1812.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any opposed? Great, thank you.
The next meeting of the Technical Planning Committee will be, what will the next meeting be? It's wrong on this. Oh, well, we'll keep you posted.
Okay.
We'll be in suspense.
All right, and that is the end of your report?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Next is NDOT, Rick Powers, Report District Deputy Commissioner, is right there, so his name tag is there and everything.
And he could have swore he was.
Well, Matt, would you?
Yeah, sure,
like to fill in?
Rick and I talked about that he was going to mention was community crossings, obviously that's coming up. The call for projects begins August 6th and closes on September 28th. So that's coming. Means receiving funding, they're going to receive notice sometime in late October or early November is what we're looking towards. He also was going to mention the local tracks program, that is still ongoing in terms of the application period. It's on right now and it closes August 31st. Probably end of September is when we're going to receive some information about awards for that too. So beyond that, the I-65 project that everyone is well aware of is still going forward. We're on schedule for that. That should be completed this fall as on schedule. So same things, shifting traffic patterns in that area, but nothing relatively new than what it's been this whole construction season. So I think that's pretty much about what we're planning to talk about.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just, we might clarify, because I've gotten some calls. I believe this year will be the last year that projects that are going on this summer may be funded with community crossings. And on the website, there's a frequently asked questions location So if you're talking to your local commissioners or whatever, that'll clarify calls to your state representative. Who doesn't do technical things.
Okay. And that was going to be my question, was
If this is the last year, as I understand it, from now on, it will be projects going forward. Am I correct in that? But this year, you may submit projects that are going on. The bids have been let, correct? The bids have already been let. You can get reimbursed.
But it's not the end of the community crossings grant program.
Not as long as I'm alive. It actually grows each year.
That's what I'd heard you say before, and I heard the other night somebody say that it was the end of the program.
No, you should never, anything you hear after midnight is probably untrue.
Remember that. And thank you for your report, Rick.
Of course, I'm looking now going, take the call, don't take the call, take the call, don't take it. I didn't think you were going to move that fast. Forgive me.
Sorry.
How far did he get? Did he do everything?
Yep, Matt got it covered for you.
All right.
Thank you.
In fact, you can switch seats. That's why Matt's here.
Thank you for your work, and he said
Communications,
no
right.
potholes anymore.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you want to add? It just, he really covered, basically.
So he covered community crossings, local tracks,
Yep.
the widening project on 65.
And everybody got a $200,000 allocation.
And you're going to get a Christmas card.
You are. Matt just took a pay cut.
Okay, well, thank you. Next is the certification review, Federal Highways Administration, Federal Transit Administration, and you both are sitting right there.
You want us to present from here?
Yeah. It's all good.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Susan Weber with MTA, and this is Joyce Newland with Federal Highway. You guys all know her for sure.
Usually she's on the phone.
Right, exactly. So you get to see her live in person today. So it was actually a year ago that we were on site conducting the certification review. And we reported out at that time that there would be a likelihood of a corrective action. But through the review, we had a number of commendations for NIRPC and NIRPC staff. And one was for their travel demand forecasting, and they were commended on the process used to update the functional classification system. And we encourage you to explore potential enhancements to the existing load choice model when you update your model the next update cycle. The other commendation was for the bike and ped plan, and we heard a little bit more about that, and it's pretty exciting that the build application goes in for the Marquette Greenway. We feel that this really exemplifies the regional models of cooperation, and we're very excited for the outcome of that. There were a number of recommendations that staff is continuing to work on, and a lot of things have happened since the review took place last summer, so we're excited to see that. And the corrective action, which we find still stands, and that we're continuing to work with NIRPC and staff, is on public involvement and engagement, and really making that more meaningful. We heard at the review and the public meeting that we held for the review some pretty serious feedback on this. So we're planning to actually meet again with NIRPC staff after this meeting and offer continued technical assistance and support through this corrective action, and we're encouraged that we'll bring this to resolution. But that's what we have from the certification report. NIRPC was certified. They continue to receive federal funding, so that is the good news. And we look forward to better improvements in this grade. There's so much that this area offers, and so I think if we continue to work on continued public engagement, it will only benefit everyone.
Okay. Joyce, you have anything to add?
I spoke the last time, so I passed their words.
Okay, great. Any questions?
If I could, I just We did submit a formal objection to that corrective action, which we do feel is unwarranted. However, what they're asking us to do for their corrective action, we have no issue with doing, which is essentially a status report, update, strategy plan. So we're following through as what's required, but just for the record, we did actually submit a formal objection to that corrective action.
And we as the federal team responded to that formal objection point by point. So now we just need to move forward in.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. And you look better in person than you do on the phone. And is there any other business? Bob, announcements.
Since we haven't been here in a couple of months, I've got a number of things. First of all, the Northwest Indiana Symphony will be at Cedar Lake Town Grounds this Saturday evening at 7:30 for a free concert. If weather does not permit, we'll move to Hanover High School. Next thing, my daughter and son-in-law live on the outskirts of Valpo, and they're very pleased with the sidewalk that is going from the outskirts of Valpo to downtown. Mr. Heidelbeck, would you kind of say a little bit about that?
I was out there. Thank you. I mean, Valparaiso for a number of years, at least from our perspective, has led the involvement of communities in the pathways and bike. Our mayor, since he's been in office, has been a biker and is very, very interested in promoting and advancing the cause of, where's Mitch, of biking in the area. I'm sure Mitch can confirm the fact that Valparaiso, within its boundaries, has been very committed. And you're right, we're starting to expand now beyond the boundaries, and we're looking for connectivity and other communities' involvement so we can not only ride from southeast Chicago to southwest Michigan, but we can go south as well through Chesterton and Valparaiso and on to the Kankakee. So we're excited about it, and I'm glad to hear we have some constituents that are excited about it.
All right, and my last thing, my son-in-law, who was in Valpo, is a mechanical engineer from Innsbruck. And they had a family open house at the Wheatfield plant. And I toured that facility on Saturday. And I was very surprised that a byproduct of the coal is gypsum. And Georgia Pacific has a plant right down there on their property, and they produce a high-quality drywall down there. And there are deer and geese and ducks just all over their facility. I'm amazed at what I saw down there.
Great. Yes, Mr. Powers?
I did have something
okay
to add earlier. In fact, it probably something just started when talking to her. And the theme of being sad, not mad, as I usually see in staff development. When Charles came here, in fact, I think I said the same thing. When you have a rock star and they leave, and you want to see them grow, all you can be is sad. And Lindsay Quist is sitting behind me, who is our, I would now say, former capital program.
I didn't let her speak, by the way. I'm just letting you know.
She will. And is instrumental in what we do, as you know, with our MPOs. The good news is she's being promoted, is going to central office, is taking on some IDIQ involvement, quite frankly, trying to get us out of the way, if you will, of ourselves and some of the bureaucracy, rules, things like that, that we think, all of us, I think, united believe we can move a little quicker. Lindsay is good at that, and you've learned that with her here. I want to congratulate her, but I'm also, again, very sad because we've been going through an interview process, and those are shoes that are very large to fill. We are moving through that process now. In fact, Lindsay's here. I know she works with a lot of you. If she wants to say something, in fact, I would invite her to do so, but she is going to be sorely missed by local district.
Lindsay?
Yes, this will probably be my last monthly meeting. I might still come back. As Rick said, I will still be with INDOT, just taking on a larger, more statewide role with the capital program. So I appreciate all of you. I've worked with several of you in a variety of ways, so thank you. And I'm still with NDOT, and still with the capital program, so feel free to reach out. I still might be able to help depending on the situation, or at least point you in the right direction. So, thank you.
Congratulations, thank you. And we look forward to working. One note is that the LaPorte office is, the LaPorte district is training ground for Indianapolis, because Bob Alderman went before you, now you know, I'm just saying.
It's a dynamic group we have.
Dave?
Two items, Mr. Chairman, if I may. First, the town of Munster would like to give a shout out to NDOT and Representative Soliday. For a long time, Munster has been planning a grade separation project for 45th Street and Calumet Avenue. And our efforts have been stymied to some extent by the railroad and their reluctance or their slowness or slow walking of executing agreements that are necessary to keep the project going. And thanks to Representative Soliday and NDOT as a whole to intervene and their leadership, then we're finally getting this project moving, so thank you to them. Item number 2 is I also want to give a shout out to Lake County Surveyor Bill Emerson. For many, many years we've had a problem with Hart Ditch in the town of Munster, and Bill has promised to take a measure or a request from the town of Munster to the Lake County Drainage Board so that Hart Ditch becomes a regulated ditch and helps maintain that to the extent that is beyond the wherewithal of the town of Munster. So we appreciate those efforts.
Great. Yes, Mary?
I'd like to see if we can schedule a legislative group meeting in September sometime, and I know Mayor McDermott, Representative Soliday, if you'd like to join us. And I know I've heard from a couple of the members that they want to meet, and I think just before the legislative session would be really a good time to meet. Second thing is Communitrees is a really good grant, and with all of the work that's being done within our communities for streets, we need to replace a lot of those trees to help with our stormwater issues, and those projects are due on the 1st of August. Please apply for them because it's a good way to replace all those trees, not only from the emerald ash borer, but also because of our streets being updated. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else? Yeah.
Sorry, just to follow up, the next TPC should be August 14th. I'm not sure if the date got clarified. But, and then also, I just wanted to say again, TPC endorsed these vision statements that are in the back of your packet. I just want to draw your attention to it again, just because it's there's so much work going on with the 2050 update, and I don't want that to get overlooked. So as you take a moment to be able to look at that grid and matrix and those value statements, if you have comments on these, we would welcome them from the commission. You are just as much a part of this update process as staff is and the region is. So just didn't want that to just get tossed aside with the packet. We're moving rapidly along with that process and invite your continued participation.
I'll second that. This comes before the commission next year. However, it's always helpful to have the comments and keep moving this forward now. We're ready next year.
We didn't have meetings the last 2 months because Ty and I were trying something. It's not for my perfect attendance record. It was to try to utilize your time better, and instead of change who's in front, the cart or the horse. And so rather than come up with amendments to be, reasons to have the meetings, try to consolidate that to use your time better. And so that's what we're trying. Yes?
Absolutely.
And so that's why it was, because we're moving around.
Could have been moving around.
Could have been moving around as well, but and so it's not a record meeting, but I entertain a motion to adjourn. Second.
I just have one more thing. In hearing all the report outs, the overall committee structure that was indicated here includes an outreach committee, and we know that it's had some starts and stops, and we're looking forward to an update and a report out on that at the next meeting.
We'll be talking about that at the meeting we're having next.
Very good.
All right. What time's your next meeting scheduled to? Because we can slow down now. Okay. Motion to adjourn. I think somebody made it. Second. Second. Ready? Thank you. Thank you all.